Welcome back to Eddie's Time Warp. Episode 13, The Devil's Bargain. The hidden laboratory was heavy with silence. Harlan Voss stood healthy for the first time in months, thanks to Victor's serum. But his eyes burned with quiet fury. Victor Kane held a decrypted message from his men in 1986. They can't find him. He never arrived in 1986. Your machine sent him somewhere else. Victor demanded that Harlan tell him how to find the correct year. Harlan told him straight up, the temporal displacement unit has limitations. There's always drift. A few years in either direction. Even with the neural link, I couldn't guarantee exact precision. He could be anywhere in a 4 to 5 year window. Victor's face turned cold and unyielding. Then you're going to help me narrow it down. You're going to calculate every possible arrival point and help me send a new team back to the right year. Harlan stared at him. Why in God's name would I help you kill the only person who ever really understood me? Victor stepped closer. His presence was suddenly overwhelming. His voice was low and cold, as if every word carried a threat that could not be ignored. Because if you refuse, I won't just kill him in the past. I'll see to it that every day of his new life is pure hell. I'll destroy every opportunity before he can take it. Every friend, every relationship, every dream. And when he's broken and alone, I'll make sure he knows exactly who sent me. Victor leaned in even closer. His face was just inches from Harlan's. Or you can help me end it quickly. One clean shot. It's your choice. A long, terrible silence filled the lab. Harlan's hands clenched at his sides. You really are a monster. Victor Kane smiled coldly. No, I'm simply the man who always wins. Now start calculating. Harlan looked down at the glowing schematics, his mind racing desperately for any way to warn Eddie without Victor knowing. Two geniuses, one machine, and a war that now stretched across decades. And Eddie had absolutely no idea that his life was in grave danger. If you're enjoying Eddie's journey, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss what happens tomorrow morning. You're not going to want to miss Episode 14, Sister's Intuition. Welcome back to Eddie's Time Warp. Episode 14, Sister's Intuition. The apartment was quiet, except for the distant hum of traffic outside. Boxes still lined the walls, but was slowly starting to feel like home. Eddie sat on the old couch with his acoustic guitar across his lap, casually strumming a few chords. From the kitchen table, where she was pretending to do homework, 14-year-old Katie watched him closely. After a long silence, she finally spoke, her voice cutting through the quiet. She told him how strange it was. He hadn't practiced once since they moved. He had spent every day helping their mom unpack, yet suddenly he was this guitar god everyone at school was talking about. He was getting straight A's on every test without ever studying. And he knew things he shouldn't know. He talked differently. He didn't even walk the same. It was like someone had replaced her brother with a better version. Eddie's fingers stilled on the strings. The neural link hummed quietly in his mind, ready to give his sister the perfect explanation. But this was Katie. She had always been able to see through him, even when they were children. He set the guitar down carefully. Katie's voice softened. She told him she wasn't mad, just confused. It was obvious that something big had happened this summer, and he wasn't telling her. He had always been there for her. especially since their parents split. But now, she could tell he was carrying a heavy secret. Eddie looked at his little sister. He really looked at her. The weight of everything he was hiding pressed down on him like never before. For one dangerous moment, he considered telling her the truth. He was going to tell her how he traveled 44 years back in time. About Harlan, the billionaire who made it all possible. And about the neural link implanted in his brain. The words rose in his throat. But before he could speak, the front door opened. Their mom, Linda, walked in looking exhausted from her shift. She greeted them warmly, asking how their day had been. The moment had been shattered. Katie gave him a look that said everything. This conversation isn't over. Eddie forced a small smile. As their mom started talking about dinner, Katie gave Eddie one last meaningful glance before turning back to her homework. He knew she wouldn't let it go for long. For the first time since arriving in 1982, Eddie felt the true weight of his secret. He couldn't keep carrying it alone forever. He knew that, and he wanted to tell her. After all, some secrets are just too big to keep forever, especially from the people who know you best. But little did Eddie know that somewhere out there, beyond his new world, someone was watching him. If you're enjoying Eddie's journey, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss what happens tomorrow morning. You're not going to want to miss episode 15, Perfect Score. Welcome back to Eddie's Time Warp. Episode 15, Perfect Score. The morning announcements crackled over the intercom as Eddie sat in homeroom, half listening while doodling in the margin of his notebook. Coach Merrill was shuffling papers at his desk when the principal's voice came on. Attention students and faculty, the results from last week's annual aptitude and achievement tests are in. We'd like to extend a special congratulations to one student who achieved something truly remarkable. Eddie's stomach tightened. He already knew what was coming. Senior Eddie Stackhouse recorded a perfect score across every section. Mr. Stackhouse is the first student in Westfield High history to ever do so. A ripple of whispers spread through the room. Several heads turned toward Eddie. Coach Merrill looked up from his desk with raised eyebrows. "Well, I'll be damned," the coach muttered, a grin spreading across his face. "Way to go, Stackhouse." Eddie gave a modest shrug, trying to play it cool even as the neural link quietly hummed with satisfaction. By the time lunch arrived, the news had spread through the entire school. Eddie had barely sat down with his tray when Katie appeared and slid into the seat directly across from him, her eyes locked on him like lasers. "A perfect score," she said, keeping her voice low but intense. "The only perfect score in the entire school? Really?" Eddie took a slow bite of his sandwich, buying himself a second. Katie leaned forward. "Eddie, you barely open a book all summer. I live with you. I see everything. You haven't studied once since we moved." "So how?" Before Eddie could answer, Tommy Ramirez dropped his tray on the table next to them, looking equal parts amazed and suspicious. "Yo, Stackhouse," Rez said, shaking his head. "I heard the announcement in homeroom. A perfect score. Man, what the hell happened to you this summer? You used to hate tests. Now you're out here breaking school records?" Eddie looked between his little sister and his oldest friend. Both of them were staring at him with the same mixture of awe and confusion. He forced a casual smile. "I don't know. I guess I just finally decided to take school seriously." Katie narrowed her eyes. "That's bullshit, and you know it. You're different, Eddie. Not just smarter. You're calmer, more confident. Even the way you talk is different now. It's like you woke up one day and became this completely new person. Rez nodded slowly, backing her up. Yeah, she's right. At the bonfire, you were playing guitar like you've been doing it for 20 years. Now you're acing every test without even trying. What's going on with you? For real? Eddie felt the pressure building in his chest. The Neuralink was feeding him smooth answers, but these were the two people who had known him longest. They'd see right through him. He let out a slow breath. Look, it's complicated, he said quietly. There's a lot I can't explain right now. But I assure you both that I'm still the Eddie I've always been. I'm just trying to do better this time around. The words hung in the air for a beat too long. Katie's eyes narrowed slightly. She thought to herself, what did he mean by this time around? She didn't say anything immediately, but Eddie could see the strange phrase land and settle somewhere in the back of her mind. She filed it away like evidence. Rez gave him a long, searching look. Yeah, well, whenever you're ready to talk, we're here. Katie didn't break eye contact with her brother. Her voice was quiet but firm. This conversation isn't over, she said. Not even close. Eddie forced a small smile, but inside he felt the walls of his secret closing in just a little tighter. The more Eddie succeeded, the harder it became to hide who he really was. And now, someone closest to him had heard something she wasn't supposed to. If you're enjoying Eddie's journey, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss what happens tomorrow morning. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss episode 16, Pieces of the Puzzle.